Hey everyone, we're Harlan and Naya, and welcome to episode 11 of our
Mhm.
pop culture series, Riding the Wake. If you're enjoying our content, please like and subscribe. In the comments, tell us what movies or shows you might want us to relate to paddling and investing. The crazier, the better. So, today's show is The Bourne Identity. Happy 20th
20th!
birthday! Woo! But before we get into that exciting talk and discussion, we have some even more exciting events that are happening right now here in SoCal. Naya, why don't you kick us off?
Well, Harlan, the first event that's going to happen is going to be May 1st. It's San Diego Dragon Boat Team's open house. It's going to be at Fiesta Island. So you can go to sddbt.org. So you can check out and try to participate in the paddling sport of dragon boat that me and Harlan do on occasion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple of things that you need to know before you come to this open house is one, wear clothes you don't mind getting wet in and have a change of clothes for that specific reason, right, Harlan?
That's right.
You will get wet. It is a water sport. Second thing you will need to do is sign a waiver. There will be waivers there because we will have a table, we'll have a tent, I believe, but you will have to give us your signature and release all, rights and maybe your firstborn. We don't know. The third thing you will need to do is present your COVID vaccination card. That is right, folks. We are checking COVID vaccination cards.
Because
If
we
you,
breathe on each other very heavily and we are
yes,
close to each other. But we are outdoors and the wind is, there's wind, right? So there are factors both pro and con here, but
about it.
thus the vaccination cards.
Thus, so if you do not have one, I suggest you get one because if you want to participate in this wonderful event and you don't have one, you will be turned away. So, vaccination card, waiver, close May 1st, San Diego Dragon Boat, open house, Fiesta Island. What's the next thing we have, Harlan?
Next thing, we've got Crystal Pier coming on May 7th. This is the first outrigger race of the season for 2022. This is put on by Hano Hano, where we expect more than 1,500 participants. Is that right, Naya? 1,500?
Yes. Yes.
1500. That's a
Yes.
lot of people.
Well, you figure a lot of clubs have different boats in the same race, right? You'll probably have Hano Hano that's going to have like 5 women's teams in one race.
All right, all right. So participants are going to battle on a 6 mile short course or a 10 mile long course in an OC6. So the race will take place at Crown Point Shores Park. Visit www.hanohano slash crystal-pier-2022 for more information, or use your favorite search engine. Look for Hano Hano Crystal Pier 2022, which might be a
Ex-
little easier. Also, we will in the description have a link to these. So, Naya, what's up next?
the event of the year that I love, the SUP Swap Meet, May 22nd at West Coast Paddle Sports. We love this event. I think this is their third or fourth, I'm not sure, but it will be taking place at West Coast Paddle Sports, 4360 Marina Boulevard, Suite 130, San Diego, California, 92117, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is a great event because you can get new gear and used gear for sale. Okay, so that is just like right there. You know how hard it is to find paddles for a good price, Harlan? You know that,
Oh,
right?
I
It's
know.
hard. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a new paddle is like what, 300 to 400 bucks, depending on
Depending
what
on
it
what kind
is.
of paddle you want. Yeah, I mean they run higher than that even.
Yeah. So used gear. Oh, we always love used gear.
Yeah, especially if
But
you're trying something new out, right? If you can grab
yeah,
a used paddle, you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. Grab a used paddle.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
So there's going to be raffles, food, entertainment, plus dog adoptions. There is going to be a dog adoption there. I am so happy because this is where I got my dog, Huli, and she has forever changed my life, which I'm sure everybody will say. So if you want more information, go to West Coast Paddle on Instagram or West Coast Paddle Sports on Facebook and go to their events page. I know that I'll be making an appearance. I'm sure Harlan will. So you can come say hi to us and, you know, just have a good time. Maybe get a dog and get a sup and go have some fun out
Go
in the
have some
water.
fun. Yeah.
So, Harlan, you know that we have all these paddling events and so on, but I heard through the grapevine that we have some non-paddling events going on in San Diego. Is that right?
Yeah. So now as COVID is starting to kind of loosen up and we're starting to learn how to get back into things, finally, we're starting to do some in-person events and pop culture events again in San Diego. And here
Nice.
at Riding of the Wake, we're all about pop culture, right? And
Right.
what could be more pop and more culture than a native San Diego film festival? So,
Yes.
just a little bit about me. I volunteer on the board of directors for the nonprofit Pacific Arts Movement, and we run the San Diego Asian Film Festival, which is a big festival we have every November. But that's not all we do. We also run the San Diego Asian Film Festival Spring Showcase, and that starts tomorrow, Thursday, April 21st. So when you're seeing this, it might actually be starting this day, depending on how fast I can load this episode up. So the Spring Showcase happens for just 1 week. So to get more information, passes, or tickets, go to sdaff.org, San Diego Asian Film Festival.org. And as always, I'll have links to this and all the other things we're talking about above. But at the Spring Showcase, we've got, I think it's like 12 or 13 shows this time. We've got a film about the Canto Pop legend Anita Mui, who I actually don't know that much about. I'm interested in going and learning about that. My wife, she totally knew who this person was because she grew up with that, and I'm like, I don't know who she is. Like, I'm not big into Cantopop. We've got an animated comedy from Japan called Fortune Favors Lucky. Sorry, every time I do this, I say this wrong. Fortune Favors Lady Nikuko. And then there's a Korean thriller called On the Line. And there's something that my family's company is sponsoring. It is a showing of the first Vietnamese feature film for kids. It's called Micah, the Girl from Another Galaxy, and bonus, it's sci-fi. So it's a sort of, I'll say it's like a Goonies style kind of thing. It's kids. It's kids running around with costumes on and special effects, and it looks awesome. It looks awesome. So I'm super thrilled. I've been looking forward to sponsoring something that has science fiction or kids, and this has both. So I'm like, we're there. We're there.
Oh,
So catch these this
nice.
week. A lot of these films that we show at the festival, they may be one-time runs. This may be the only time you can see them, right? And some of the
Mhm.
films will only show one time. So have a look at the festival guide, see if there's anything you want to see, and come on down. Tickets are really affordable. You can also get a pass to the event, which gives you kind of like front of the line access, or not front of the line, but there are two stages of loading when you load the theater. So you can get in the first loading stage if you get a pass. So all kinds of stuff, really cool. 1 week only until November when we do the rest of our festival. And
That
I'm
uh, wow.
I think this is I think our festival is like the second most awesome thing that we do in San Diego, and I would love to say it was the most awesome thing we do in San Diego, but there is San Diego Comic Con, and I do have to appreciate the wonders of Comic Con. So we'll be
I
talking about that later. I have no doubt.
yeah. So I can see why you love this. You get excited, just the way that you were talking about it gets me excited about seeing this, because I haven't been to a film festival since I was probably, I want to say 12, and that was the animated film festival where I saw Wallace and Gromit and all
Mm.
that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah,
so like the Spike and Mike thing.
yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to actually seeing this, but in my own ignorance, I'm gonna ask this question because I'm pretty sure you get this a lot. Since it is a cultural festival, the movies, do they have subtitles? Are they in English, or are they in the native language? I'm sure I'm being ignorant about this, but I want to know.
Think about it like think about it like we're trying to show it in its native format.
Okay.
So we won't show anything that's been dubbed,
Okay.
right? And typically, there's no time to dub these things. Typically, we're showing them in their original theatrical run format. So obviously, we have a lot of English. Uh, let's just say English is a sort of common language for our audience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we will always show films at least with English subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's an anime from Japan, it's going to be in Japanese. There's going to be, you can expect English subtitles on that. If there's a Korean film, there's going to be English subtitles, but it's most likely mostly going to be in Korean. However, like for example, the Anita Mui film, I believe, is in Cantonese, Mandarin, and uh, I don't remember the third language. Might have been Malaysian, might have been English, something like that. But a lot of the films, particularly the documentaries, are in multiple languages.
Okay.
So when you're going, don't expect a consistent kind of thing, because because Asian, right, is such a broad swath of things, and really we incorporate Asian films, Pacific Islander films,
Mm-hmm.
Asian diaspora films. So we might have a film from an Asian director that was shot in Germany, right? It might be in German, you don't know, right? It might be from New York. Like it might be from New York and all in Mandarin, right? So there's a huge diversity of what we have,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll be able to understand it if you can read fast enough. That is one of the things that makes it a little bit more difficult for younger viewers. So if you don't have the capacity to read the subtitles fast enough, it is a little bit challenging for kids. But that said, a lot of kids' movies, you can understand them.
Oh yeah.
Actually, a lot of movies, you can understand them without, like, I would say, like, most movies, you could probably understand without reading the subtitles too closely,
Yeah.
right? The ones that get a little bit complex are the ones that are like political dramas, or the dramas where people are just kind of facing each other and talking back and forth. But if you've got like
Mm-hmm.
an action film or you know, what do you call it? If you're like got a wuxia film or a kung fu film or animated kind of things where there's lots of stuff happening, you get it, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
physicality on screen that
Mm-hmm.
conveys the importance of events. And so I think that that is why, to me, the entry point into Asian film was kung fu films, right? So I watched Jackie Chan and Jet Li and all that stuff in the 80s, and Michelle Yao, and like these are the folks that I grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff I watched had horrendous English subtitles or fabulously, amazingly terrible, just terrible voiceovers, right? To the point where like you just turn it all the way off and just watch the show. Like I would go over to my friend's house and we would watch films. We would watch some kung fu films, and I'd be like, "Why are we watching without sound?" He's like, "Oh, it's dubbed." And I'd be like, "Why is that bad?" And he's like, "Here, let me turn the sound up for a second." And I was like, "No, put it back."
The law of surprise did not work in your favor, did it?
No, it did not. It did not. So, yeah, come on out.
Nice.
Watch some films. It'll be
yeah.
awesome.
So thank you for answering that question, because
Yeah,
I'm
you're
sure
welcome.
a lot of people would have the same question and didn't want to like be like, "Hey, what do I do?" You know?
Yeah, when you go to the website and you look at the films, it'll say what languages they're in and then what the subtitles are.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. So
So
let's get ready for the Bourne Identity. Woo-hoo. Tell us all about your experiences. So I watched this when it came out initially. Naya did not have that chance because Naya was too young, probably.
20 years ago, probably, yeah.
Probably.
Wait.
You were
22 years old, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you probably didn't care at that point.
Nah.
I was into other things, I guess, but I did go see Bourne and I did like it. And so 20 years later, I've just rewatched it, and Naya also watched it, but she had never seen it before. So this was her first experience.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Well, having seen Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, so that kind of just solidified. And I watched Good Will Hunting in the theaters in Massachusetts because so that kind of like just painted that picture of that strong Boston accent, that guy from Southie, all that wonderful stuff, right? So seeing him in this role, it was like, do I really like it? Like, it was, for me, it was just too much. Like, so this guy obviously doesn't know who he is, and he's on a quest to find out his true identity. And within that journey, he discovers he has a lot of knowledge and he can execute certain things that normal people wouldn't have common knowledge of, which for me, I can grasp that concept. But the fact that he doesn't understand why he's doing certain things and just the steps that the movie takes and how fast it is, it was just, my mind was like, okay, no, I'm getting vertigo just watching the camera shots. I was like, no, I can't do this. I powered through it. And you have spoiled me on character development and that getting the relationship correct, because that right there, I'm like, okay, so you're paying some girl what, $10,000 to take you somewhere so you can find out who you are, and then you're like in this, you get in bed with her and all this stuff. I'm just like, no, where is the there? No, I can't get with that. It was too fast.
It was too fast. It was too fast. I love that you bring that up, because in rewatching it, I was like, wait, what? They're having sex already? I'm like, this is why the Koreans think that we're weird. This is why the Koreans make fun of us. Because they're like, oh, yeah, we don't act like Americans.
Like, I didn't mind like the car chases and the gunfights, and that was all cool.
Sure,
But
sure, sure.
but I'm just like, okay, so you're you're letting him cut your hair and dye your hair, and then you just all of a sudden just look at him, this stranger you don't know, and kiss him and end up in bed. Where was how did that
How
work?
did that play out? Like,
Yeah.
what led you to that conclusion that that would be a good thing for the future?
I guess, getting chased by police and the government and getting shot at makes you do weird things. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. So, or maybe Stockholm syndrome a little bit.
But he didn't force her though.
Well, she was no, he didn't force her, right? But remember, they were by the time they left the consulate, they
Yeah.
had both been caught on CCTV together.
Yeah.
And so they both were wanted criminals. And so they both were on the run. And she was aware of this, right? So in a way he was not forcing her to be with him necessarily, but they were kind of trapped in the situation together.
Mm,
So it's not like he took her hostage or something like that, but
no.
it's as if like they were it's like they did the things that you do in the Korean drama, right? It's like, okay, two people forced together, forced into a close living situation, maybe have to drive somewhere together, road trip, yay. And then there's this period of time, and it's supposed to be fairly long, right? There's this period of time where they get to know each other, and then they get together. And okay, it's an American movie, so they're going to have sex. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. But like they skip the getting to know each other part
Really fast.
they're like, we had one conversation and then sex.
Yeah. Like, I just didn't get it. Like, and the fact that you had Big Brother watching over you, like the government, like it was like, so
yeah, there's a fantasy of American like projection of the CIA power there
yeah,
that is just like, I don't know.
like
I don't know if that's real.
it's kind of far reaching, very far reaching to
Seems
me.
seems unlikely.
Could be plausible. Who knows?
Maybe.
But
Seems unlikely though. I mean, I think among authors of these sort of espionage thrillers, there is this fantasy that or they want to perpetuate this perpetuate. They want to perpetuate this fantasy that Big Brother can be big and overreaching and do all these things to you in other countries. I just don't see the French like I don't see the French like police being all up the polizia or sorry,
yeah,
that's Italian, right?
yeah.
Sorry, the French what gendarmes? What are the French police called? Police
I,
probably.
yeah, we'll just call it the police. Sorry, French people who are watching this.
Sorry, I don't do French. French language is not my thing. So I don't see the French police getting all like interested in a couple of American, like two Americans who are running around. Like I don't even know. Did they say that they had? Oh right, I think they had pinned that killing on that guy.
Yeah, the French. So the French Jason Bourne, whoever he was trying to kill the American Jason Bourne, and they killed him.
Oh right, right.
Yeah. So every country that he went to, they had their Jason Bourne, and obviously their Jason Bourne was not that good because he got killed.
He got killed. Yeah. And so he was leaving a trail of bodies behind.
Yeah.
And I suppose over time it might get a little irritating to the local police, but like I don't see them throwing all these cars and resources at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I did love the scene where they go back to the hotel and there's all these freaking cop cars around it. It reminds me of like it reminds me of cops in California. So the CHP, the California Highway Patrol, doesn't really do this as much, but local police agencies will do this. There'll be something going on, and there will be police cars just crawling all over it. And it's like there's one person
Yeah.
who potentially is some sort of suspect that you see, and there's just all these cops standing around, and like basically they're doing nothing. They're just sort of standing there. People make fun of road workers because there's like one road worker who's like watching the traffic to make sure people don't die. But and you're like, oh, why is one person not working? It's like, dude, he's fucking watching the road, right? So but no, these cops are like literally just kind of standing around like doo-doo-doo. It reminded me of that, like the French version of that. They're sort of like, oh, there's a hotel, let's go to the hotel and hang out there for a little while and like wander around. And they're like, oh, look, the cops found us. That struck home for me as like an American citizen. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what the cops would do.
Well, let's put it in real life situation. Last night at practice.
Oh, right. What was that?
That was like a fire or something, but you saw like all the, like you saw the police, you saw the fire truck, and they were all congregated. And this was like at what, Crescent Point or something. It was like, we're like, dude, there's a fire, and we're paddling right towards it because we're trying to figure out. So
I didn't see any smoke though.
It was
Did you
dark.
see smoke?
It was black
because it was too dark. All right.
It was coming to be, you know, dusk.
Okay.
And I was at my boat, I could see it, but I was like, there's a lot.
Well, at least there was a fire. At least there was a fire.
Well, I don't know if there was a fire. I saw smoke, so I'm assuming if there was smoke, there was fire. You know,
safe assumption.
But yeah, like we were seeing, I was looking at the bridge, and like four ambulances or fire, you know, trucks or whatever, they were going around, and we're like, okay, and then you see the other side, I'm like,
yeah, they brought everybody.
Yeah, I'm just like, is that kind of overkill?
It seemed a little bit like overkill.
A little bit. So I could understand why you at that scene you went to where you did. But yeah, but there's an underlying thing, and I just thought about this.
Yeah.
With every Jason Bourne in that specific country that he killed, and it was like, okay, he killed the French one, he killed the German one, and yet the American Jason Bourne stood standing. Is that kind of like, you know, like little subliminal message there that America is like, we're strong?
Well, no. I think technically they're all American. I think technically they're all American. All these. So you haven't seen the other films, so they recruit these people from the American military. They did have accents, but I think that's because they were supposed to blend in and be essentially sleeper agents. So you're familiar with the sleeper agents that the Russians placed in the United States. They were much more comfortable with American speech, American ways than they were Russian, right? But they had that sort of training coming from the KGB. The concept here is that we're doing that and we're inserting them into Europe.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
I probably won't watch the other movies, but I just kind of like subliminally, like if you just
so they're all like ex-military or not ex, but they're what do you call it? They were like taken from the ranks of like CIA or Army or intelligence services in the United States, and then exported.
But I mean, if you take away that part, doesn't it seem like that's American propaganda right there? Like, hey, we're strong. We're gonna kick everybody's ass, you know? I was like, I just thought about that right now. I'm just like, whoa, that was that was that was crazy. Not saying that we don't love America. We love America. I love America.
I love America's potential. I love our ability to become better.
We always have to become better. So
Yeah.
so then at the end, I loved the ending. Not when he went to go see the girl, but when the guy who was in charge got shot. I just love that. I'm just like, movie's ended. Good. Because I didn't like you. He got taken out by his superior, which is awesome.
It's like just boom, you're gone.
Yeah.
Bye.
That guy irritated me so bad.
He was super irritating. It was great. Kudos to the actor. I don't know his name. Sorry, but the guy who is like the Treadstone, the guy who was leading Treadstone at the sort of lower level. He was hateful and a total jerk, and I'm sure that actor is like really super nice person. But score, you did a great job. We hated your character.
I was like, just kill him already.
We were there for it. We were there for it. The thing a lot of people complained about with this film was like the shaky camera, and I think that they really leaned, and it may have been one of the first films to really promote this idea of when there's an action scene, we're just going to have a shaky camera wobbling around wherever we go. And even though I think they overdo it in the Bourne movies, and just be glad I didn't have you watch the second Bourne movie. You would have been like Ralphing in your safety bag. It gets worse, right? This movie kind of starts it, and then the rest of the movies take it to the next extreme. One of the things that I find that they start doing in it is on top of the shaky camera work, they end up cutting pieces out, right? So like a guy will swing to, hit somebody with an object like a chair or something like that, right? And then they'll cut out all but just a hint of that. They'll have that hint, and then they'll have the connection, but then they'll have a hint of the connection, right? So everything happens boom, 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 really fast, and you get this feeling of I'm in the middle of a fight, and confusing things are happening, and it's not like you're watching something end to end. And this does two things, and I like these two things, but it does one other thing that's problematic. The first thing is it gives you that feeling of a frenetic energy, which I think is fantastic. It's very conducive for fighting. Second thing is it covers the fact that a lot of these actors are not good martial artists, right? So you don't have to cut out Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan or Jet Li's performance. When they move, they have to slow down so the camera can capture it, which I found very interesting, right? So I remember seeing this at some point. They're like, yeah, no, you can't, if you move as fast as you do in actual like sparring or training, it's too fast. It will look almost as though your hand hasn't moved, because the camera doesn't record. The cameras are recording at about 30 frames per second, right? And so you're moving your hand fast enough that you may only capture 1 or 2 frames and out, so it looks like nothing. And so it covers those inadequacies in the fact that you're probably training for 6 months to get ready for a film, so you have to fight in a style, and there's no way for you to be like as good as someone who's been doing it for years. And then there's the third thing, which is like it just makes everyone want to yak.
Boy, you're really selling these Bourne movies to me, Harlan.
But I mean, it got picked up by a lot of other movies, right? So the Bond films started doing it afterwards.
Yeah.
It's done in, and I'm blank. To some extent, they did it in Salt, and they did it in. There's another film about the Eastern Bloc, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now. It's like set in the late '80s. Oh, I think
Well,
it's
you
a
could.
Charlize Theron film. It was relatively recent, but a lot of films are doing this where they're going Jason Bourne style, but not as shaky cam, so you don't feel as much vomit. So I think they're leaning more into the cutting out
Yeah.
and making everything faster. You even see it a
Well,
little bit in Marvel films because they'll pick
yeah.
it up for things like Black Widow and for Captain America, because those are more thriller kind of things, and I think that's why they try to do that style.
I mean, we saw it in Batman too.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I like that, but I would sit through like 4 hours of that or 2 hours of Cocomelon than to sit through Jason Bourne again. I'm sorry. I was not a fan, Harlan. Not a fan.
Not a fan. Not a
Not a
fan.
fan. Not a fan.
That's
But
okay. That's okay.
you had to. We had to take a loss sometime, right?
We had to take a loss at some point, and it is the 20th. It is 20 years
20
old,
years.
right?
Yes.
So the aesthetic is going to be older. I remember my experience when I was in my 20s. I was like, I want to learn more about films. And so I started going and trying to watch. This is back before I got really, really so straight up annoyed with the sort of film, the Oscars. Oh,
Yeah.
who gives out the Oscars? The Academy.
I mean,
But before I was
Academy.
super annoyed by the Academy, I was like, oh, I'll watch some of these Oscar films and find out like what these things are about. And one of them I watched was Marathon Man, and I was like, oh, this is supposed to be a sort of a political thriller. I think I'd like it. I was just like, that's boring. Like like a lot of these things. And then I realized, right, the Academy, they're not out to like entertain you necessarily. They're just out to do, I don't know what it is. It's sort of Illuminati stuff that they're doing. I don't know. I don't know why they give awards to what they give. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well,
It's okay.
I feel the same way about the Grammys sometimes too. I'm like, really? That's you'll have a band who is put up for this award, but they're not in that category, and they win. And it's like,
Oh,
yeah, it's just
that's
like,
too bad.
like no,
That's
they
too
belong
bad.
in that court. Who's listening to this stuff? Obviously, it's you're not listening. So, with that said in mind, with all that we have done for Jason Bourne and Matt Damon and the lovely little movie there, what paddling things did we take away from this, Harlan?
So for me in paddling, there are a couple of things in Jason Bourne, themes about it
Yes.
that really connected to me, and especially connected to me when I watched it initially, I think, and even to this day connect. And that's the idea that there's a difference between thoughtful memory and habitual sort of like the memory of kinesthetic things, body memory, right? So I have always been a kind of more cerebral person, and when I started training in sports, I realized that was holding me back. And I still think to this day it holds me back, but I'm aware of it, right? And this is something in martial arts. It's something in paddling. If you have to think about something, it's too late. You should have done it already. right? So the thing Jason Bourne can do, right, is he can't remember where he's from, what he's doing, like particulars about his life. He doesn't know his name, where he's going, where he's coming
Yeah.
from, any of that stuff. But someone comes at him with a gun, he knows how to take that person down. He can deal with a room full of people without a problem and then run away. And he's aware of his body's limitations. He's aware, he can rock climb. He can do all these sort of survivally aspect things that you would expect a spy to be trained in so that they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Or a movie spy. By the way, real spy. just a moment of reality here. Real spies don't do this, right? Real spies don't get caught.
If they're good.
Real spies aren't supposed to get caught.
They're not, yeah.
Right? Okay. Just
do we know any real spies, Harlan? Do we?
I'm sure we do.
But
that's the thing, right?
Just had to put that out there.
Yeah,
okay, so go on. Sorry.
Okay, so when you're training, when I train, I always want to get myself to the point where I'm thinking about something and then breaking that thing down into its component parts, getting comfortable with it, letting my body become comfortable with it, and then building a habit. And unfortunately, the older you get, the more bad habits you get. Because you've done things, right? You've done many different things. And so you've got these bad habits, right?
Yeah.
And so or a habit you're carrying from one aspect of a sport to another aspect of a similar sport, stuff like that. And you have to learn to be humble, right? You have to keep a beginner's mind about things. And then you have to retrain yourself and you have to build those new habits. I'm constantly doing that. Last night when we were out on our OC6s, I was out there working on my top hand and working on not doing like all this flailing around with my top hand that I've been doing, right? So I was watching myself on the video that we took this weekend. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna be consciously working on this. And at first, it's intelligence and it's using your memory and your like force of mind to get your hand in the right position. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to try to burn this into my muscles and my muscle memory, as they say, right? And make that a kinesthetic memory instead. So I don't have to think about it anymore. Because if you, like I said, if you got to think about it, it's not going to happen consistently.
Yeah. And so I kind of take a similar approach, but I have a few more added things.
What do you do?
So I think about what can go wrong. Like, okay, I can huli out of the boat. Or if I'm in a 6-man, the whole boat can, travel. Oh, I can see this. This is not tied, So I'm looking for all those little details. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, so if I'm afraid that the boat's going to huli, what do I have to do to keep myself safe, to keep everybody else's, self safe? Okay, I got to call the boat, go forward. Don't go down. Don't lean out too far. So I'm constantly looking at those little details as a whole. For myself, my mind doesn't shut off. So even when I'm paddling and I'm thinking, okay, call the change right now. Okay, so I have to enter at this point right now. Or, all right, we're getting at mile 4. Everybody's getting tired. What's the problem? Why is everybody getting tired? Oh, because people aren't sitting up and breathing, So I'm those little things. And I don't think of them as habits. I just think of them as things or knowledge that I've we've been told over the years. For me, my habit is rushing. We know, Harlan, that I rush. So I have to break that habit. So I have to slow down my thinking while everybody thinking has to speed up. You see it's kind of like a, I'm trying to meet everybody in the middle and it doesn't work. So I just have to kind of sometimes just shut off my brain and just be like, okay, I'm I'm just gonna just go, and I'm gonna go easy. And until I feel I need to put speed, that's when I'll put it. It's more about feel for me right now. And there is a almost problematic thing when you get into habits, like you said, trying to break habits when you're older and escaping those habits are really tough. Um, like last night, uh, my one and two, my two in the boat. So I'm sort of like the new eyes in the boat. I guess you can call me an assistant coach. If you want. But I was looking at my one and two, and I'm like, okay, one is shortening her stroke. Two is pausing in the back. Okay, one, elongate your stroke. Two, sit up, don't pause in the back. And it was cool because at first they tried to change it. And then when we changed, they went back to their old habits because I could physically see that. So in the second half of practice, what I did was something that we do in Dragon Boat. I said, okay, we're just going to start out 40% easy, and then we're going to build. So, they went easy. I said, okay, on this next change, I want 5% more pressure. Don't change the rate, 5% more pressure. So I want you to feel the catch. Okay. And I said, okay, keep it there. Okay. Now, next change, you're going to add 5% more speed or power or something. And my crew got it. I mean, we were in time. We looked good. The boat was gliding, and it was funny when we got out. I had my one and two sit in the boat while the boat was beached, and I said, "Show me your stroke." And I knew what it was, and I could see what it was. Mm-hmm. It was that top arm, and they were extending too far out. I said, "You don't need to extend too far out. What happens when you extend too far out?" They both looked at me and they're like, "You get back problems?" I go, "Yeah." And
yeah, that too.
I go, as older paddlers, we need to protect our backs. So why are you extending out? Well, I always thought that we had to extend out. Why? Because somebody told you had to extend out? I said, where's your feet? I said, put the paddle at your feet and then sit up. And they're like, oh my God, that's so much better. And these were older paddlers too. So just pointing that out to them was, in essence, I wasn't trying to break that bad habit necessarily or tell them it was a bad habit. I was just trying to inform them of, hey, you go too far out, or you overreach. Number one, you could hoolie the boat, and number two, you're going to hurt yourself, right? So I wasn't necessarily pointing out, but that bad habit, but they understood that they had to change it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't always know whether or not it's something that someone is doing habitually, or if maybe they're just trying to overcorrect in some way and it's not yet a habit. Like, there is a difference between a habit and not a habit.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also a difference between kind of having I guess one of the things I'm coming to understand is that as I'm getting into more different types of crafts, there are
Mm-hmm.
things that you can carry over and there are things you can't. And I'm starting to understand also different like coaching philosophies and
Yeah.
different. I mean, we talked about this, I think, on one of our much earlier shows,
Yeah.
where it's not always about right or wrong in
Yeah.
terms of like absolutism, right? So paddling
Mm.
is not an absolutist thing, right? So
No.
paddling on, to give a super obvious example, on a
Yeah.
kayak or a surf ski where you've got a double blade, obviously you've got a different stroke than if you're on a single blade, a craft with a single blade like an OC,
Mm-hmm.
outboard canoe, um, outrigger canoe. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, so when you have even differences between an OC6 and an OC1, where you've got 6 people in it or 1 person in it, there are differences in the way you're going to be setting your blade. There are different, and you can get away with different things in different boats, and you think it might be powerful, but
Yeah.
then when it actually is pointed out to you, you kind of go, "Oh, right." Like I did have an aha moment. Um, just for first day I was back on the OC6, where Red was holding onto our boat,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, "All right, y'all just paddle, like just paddle slow, try to knock me off my feet." And he said he was just sort of standing back there holding on to the Yako,
With one
and
hand.
with one
With
hand,
one hand.
he's just sort of chilling back there in the boats. And he's like, come on, please do better. Right. And we're all trying to paddle and it's embarrassing. And we go out on the water and we work on form, right? We come back and night and day difference. Like right
Mm-hmm.
away, within a couple of strokes, he's getting sunk into the sand and it's starting to drag him away and he has to call us off, which is what it should have been like at the beginning. And
Yeah.
the difference for me personally, I don't know what it was for the other folks, but for me personally, it was this idea of being patient, waiting until I got my blade fully buried, and then uh, combination of leaning on that top arm, sitting up, and actually engaging my body properly.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt very different on the OC6 than doing it on an OC1. It felt even different than doing it on Dragon Boat, which
Mm-hmm.
they're closer, but
Yeah.
yeah. And so you do have to learn different habits for different situations. And when you're cross training, that can be problematic because you're like, oh, I can paddle this like I paddle an OC, or I can paddle this like I used to be paddling it. Sometimes you may have a bad habit. Like I have this bad habit of like coming across with my hand. And that's
Mm.
probably wrong in all the crafts that I'm doing it in, right? But then there are habits where you're like, well, that habit is good for this, but not good
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. I mean, and with that video, I will, I took that video, right? That video of you guys in that OC1. I mean, the OC6, that first day when you were in the boat.
Oh,
I
that
took
wasn't that wasn't the video I was referring to. I was referring
oh,
to a Dragon Boat video
okay.
that Mike
But
took.
oh, well, with Mike, yeah, Mike, but
Michael
I'm
took.
talking about the one that Red had when he was holding on with one hand. I took that video and I actually saw,
I need to see that.
yeah,
All right.
I'll
Okay.
send it to you. I have your number. I know where you are. But as you said, it was night and day because when you guys first started, it was like, I was like, oh, come on, man. I was like, okay, you're rushing, you're holding the back. I don't know about you. What's going on here? It was like, and then when you guys actually got together and were patient and got the catch, it was totally night and day. I could see you guys working as a team, and you weren't 6 individuals fighting each other.
Yeah.
you know, which is what you want. You want the continuous teamwork. You want it to be like one boat. And when I was working with our two oldest kids that we just melded with the group Akunakoa, by the way.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
to let
The
you know.
Kunakoa.
Akunakoa.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Woohoo.
I was working with two kids who are 13 and 14, and they are strong kids. They are big, strong kids. And I put them in the OC1. And one of them was afraid or apprehensive. I wouldn't say afraid, but apprehensive. And the other one was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
When they came back, I said, and before I let them out, I said, one thing you have to know is that paddling in OC1, you have the same technical stuff that you do in an OC6, but you're the only one in that craft. You don't have 5 other people helping you. It's only you. You only have yourself to rely on. I said, but even more importantly than that, paddling small boat, you have to remember you're not paddling big boat style.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really got into like, oh, because and I had this happen to me too when I would be switching from small boat to big boat to small boat to big boat. I get in my small boat and I would just put my paddle in and just rip and go right over.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I forgot. Not in a big boat situation. Not in a big boat situation.
Yeah. You can get away with a lot more on a big boat. You can get away with muscling things in bad ways, and everybody else kind of absorbs your bad behavior.
Yeah. But in one man, you are totally naked. You are there in front. You're like, great, love it. What was my quote that I gave you, Harlan, yesterday that you love?
Oh, I don't want to say it, but it involved stew.
You can't make crap stew into chicken soup. How's that?
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm going to say it right if you're not going to say it right.
There you go.
Okay.
So I mean, I think we've, you just got to work smarter, not harder, right? Work smarter, not harder with paddling.
Yeah, totally. And try not to forget your name.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
where you live.
Or where you live. Yeah. The lessons from Jason Bourne. Always embed your safety information in a chip underneath your skin so that it can be removed later so that you can go to your safe deposit box in Switzerland to get out your passports.
And don't fall in love too quickly.
Also, if you're a writer, please, for the love of Thor,
yes.
give your main characters some time together to get to know each other before you put them in bed together. Unless it's a comedy and they jump out of bed immediately going, what the hell happened? Okay. So
we got that off our chest.
Yes,
we got that off our
chest,
right?
All right. Are you a fan of Battlestar Galactica?
I can say that I know of it. I can say that I've watched one maybe episode, but I don't remember it. But I wouldn't say I was like a rabid fan.
Okay.
But I like it.
Well, there is a new Battlestar Galactica under development. I think it's something I want to talk about at a certain point, but we'll talk about that later. All right. So let's get into some investing talk. Are we ready?
Yes. I think we're ready. I need to make some money, dude.
All right. Yeah, let's think about how we can make some money off of Jason Bourne's investing philosophy.
His philosophies,
All
yes.
right. Let's see. So, Jason Bourne has ingrained habits and they save his life on numerous occasions. If you are learning to invest, building good financial habits is key to establishing financial freedom. So, your habits in investing are the things that will give you psychological balance. They will give you a way to deal with they'll give you a way to deal with the sort of ups and downs and emotional roller coaster that the market can be from time to time. And especially if you're the kind of person who, like me, likes to invest in individual stocks, they can really save your sanity. So, I'm a Netflix investor. And yesterday, Netflix's earnings came out and they got destroyed. You're
I
laughing,
saw
right?
that.
Yeah. Like
I
it's
saw that.
made
It was all. It,
it's everywhere because everyone's like Netflix is king of the world, yada yada yada, and like last quarter, quarter before this one, they came out with kind of a week a week report, and their stock started dropping, and it was up somewhere, and now it's like at 50% or even like 30% of where it was before. Historically, this has happened before to Netflix. Just want you to know. So when I started investing in Netflix, they went through periods of time when they would be way up in the stratosphere and then they would just get pounded down to the floor. This happened back in the early 2000s, I guess, particularly. And there's been like a really long period of time when they've been climbing up. But like lately, I think because they've been kind of a stock market darling and people kind of, really respect them for the work they do, the surprise amongst investors was just too much. And they just got steamrolled today in a major fashion. And so I think it's a great time to talk about some of my habits and the reasons why I'm not sweating bullets right now, even though like I recognize Netflix is not going to be as good an investment now and for the next 10 years as it was like from 10 years ago to now.
Yeah.
It's in a different situation. But part of the reason why I'm not sweating bullets and what part of the reason why I can remain calm is because I have habits that I have built over time and they have saved my butt and they have saved my brain, right? From doing things like, for example, making panic sells. Like I'm not considering selling any of my Netflix shares right now. It's like my reasons for investing in the company are separate from people's perception of the company right now, right? And so let me talk about a couple of these things and we'll kind of come back to this. So when we are first getting into investing, a lot of people have maybe a salary or maybe they're getting paid hourly or something like that. And you're like, okay, I want to start investing. What's a pathway to do that? There are lots of different ways in. But one of the ways I feel like is the most powerful, especially for someone who's kind of new to the process, is to set up automated buys. So, and a lot of companies will have a 401k plan, especially larger companies, they'll have 401k plans, and they will encourage you to do stuff like this. A lot of financial advisors will encourage this too. You can set these up on your own. Like I know because I started an account, I'm not recommending them by any means at Robinhood, but you can do this at Robinhood, or and you can do this at a lot of different places. But Robinhood made it really easy. It's why I mention it. Where what they'll do is they'll say, all right, we're going to hook into your checking account And then you can tell us when you want us to pull some money out of that checking account. They pull some money out, and then they'll invest it for you in the things that you want to be invested in.
Hmm.
So I thought Robinhood was really cool because it's basically like you can make your own mutual fund and you can automate the buys for it, which is super convenient. That was a feature that you could do at my old 401k at my old employer, but you had to buy their stuff. You had to buy their mutual fund, you had to buy their index fund, and you couldn't say buy a stock that you liked, right? So as you're getting started in investing, you might go, well, I don't feel very confident. I want to buy some index funds. That's great. But maybe you're getting a little bit more confident, or maybe you want to feel a little bit more adventurous, or maybe you have a company that you really just like, right? And you want to start investing in individual companies. You can, again, try to automate those buys. Different companies will provide different brokers. I'm sorry, online brokers will provide you with different means to do this. My main online broker doesn't provide me with a means to do that. That would be my former employer. I'm not even going to mention them because they don't give you that option, which I think is a really, really good option, right? So I'm like, I don't even recommend them. So go with someone. I would say, like, if you want to build the habit of automated investing, find a company, a broker that gives you that capability, makes it easy for you, and allows you to basically kind of switch off your mind a little bit and not worry about it too much. I think, especially for the younger folks that I coach in investing, they ask me, like, how do you get started in investing? Like, what kind of things should you start doing? And I would say, build these automated habits, build them into what you're doing, make a concerted effort to build a process and then ignore it, right? So if you're like, I really like Netflix. Again, I'm not recommending Netflix to anybody right now.
You might want to buy
Despite,
because they're so low.
you might, I don't know, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just
Say
talking about,
that.
like, but if you, let's say you're 19 years old or you're 25 years old and you're just getting started in your investing journey, right? And you wanted to add a company, say it's Netflix or whatever, to your profile of things that you're to your portfolio, not profile, to your portfolio, right? And you're like, okay, maybe I'll buy 80% of, let's say I'm going to invest $100 a month or $100 a paycheck. Okay, cool. You put $100 a paycheck into your thing. You're like, all right, I'm going to take $80 out of that and I'll invest it in an index fund that I like. And then I'll take 20% of it and I'll split it among 2 or 3 stocks that I really like. That's a great way to get started, right? And because you're buying it every paycheck, you're doing what they call in the industry dollar cash averaging, which is a fancy way of saying you're buying on a regular basis. And even though the stock price might be going up or down at various points, because you buy on a regular basis, you're kind of averaging out your price of your buy. Mm-hmm. So if the trend is up over time, you may buy below that trend, you might buy above that trend, but it kind of averages out and you're kind of buying on the trend line over time. Mm-hmm. Dollar cash averaging. That's one great way to remind yourself that if your stock tanks, you're going to make a purchase fairly soon, right? So that purchase is going to be at that lower price. Now, you don't always know if a company is going to do better or worse in the future, right? Your long-term objective is to find a company that you believe is going to do well in 10, 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And that's what I believe for all the companies that I invest in. Otherwise, I wouldn't be invested in them, right? And that's also why you diversify, right? So, because you know that's not going to happen. You know you're going to get it wrong. Some of your companies, you're just going to get it wrong. Some companies going to come out and there's going to be accounting fraud and it's just going to go to the ground and Some companies are just going to get eaten up by other companies. Sometimes literally they'll be absorbed by another company, or sometimes they'll just have their market share taken away and they'll lose ground and they'll never recover. Those things can happen, but having these habitual buying kind of patterns is really, really good. And it's one of the things that I'm going to be doing now, because my investing patterns have changed a little bit. I'm probably going to start doing like monthly buys, and I'm going to be doing those with some of the younger folks who work at my company. So we'll be discussing those, doing a little bit of research, and then doing some monthly buys with some Bea funds. Yeah, Bea funds. Okay. And then another habit that I think people need to build is paying off their high interest debt first.
Yes.
So all right, so I have a chart that explains all this, but instead of using a chart, I want everyone to anyone, all three people who might be listening to this, I want you all to switch your brain over, and I want you to imagine this. Instead of thinking about debt, I want you to imagine this. Imagine it is January 2nd, 2001, 22 years ago.
Yes.
Imagine it is 22 years ago. And I went out and did this. I rounded the numbers, so it's not precise, but I looked at the returns from January 2nd, 2001, which was the trading day, the opening market for the year of 2001. And then up until April 11, which was a few days ago, 2022. I want you to think about the following stocks. Microsoft starts at $43 a share, ends at $285 a share. I believe these are split adjusted. So the dollars should be fairly good. Wells Fargo starting at $54 a share, ending at $49 a share. That is, again, a little visual for you. $54 a share, ending at $49 a share. 22 effing years later.
Wow.
And Amazon starting at $14 a share and ending at, is that number correct? $3,020 a share. The number is correct.
So they went up.
Yes. So again, just to recap, Microsoft, $43 a share to $285 a share. Wells Fargo, $54 a share down to $49 a share 22 years later. Amazon, $14 a share, split adjusted, I believe, up to $3,020 a share. So here are the XIRRs for these numbers. This is just the annualization of their growth in a simple, easy to understand percent. Annualized growth compounded at Microsoft, about 9%. Really serviceable. As an investment, I would be a happy investor with 9%. However, interestingly, not beating the S&P 500 over that time period, I don't think. I would have to actually calculate it to be sure, but I actually think the S&P 500 did better than Microsoft over that period. Sad but true. Amazon, 29% annualized return. As an investment, that is just fan-frickin-tastic. Just amazing. Annualized growth of 29% every year. Most people are never going to be that lucky. And they did that. That's spectacular. Knowing that. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Wells Fargo calculated annualized return is negative 0.5% annually. Yeah, that's rough. So obviously, Wells Fargo plagued by scandals, issues with growth, issues with being able to keep their uh, themselves kind of uh, out of the headlines, I guess I should say. Um, some things they did over that time period were really good for the American people. And I think people don't understand quite how close we came to fiscal calamity in 2008, and the role that Wells Fargo played in stabilizing that. And I'm talking about the Wells Fargo that existed prior to the merger between Wells Fargo and Wachovia, which was the bank that nearly collapsed that they had to absorb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the reason why Wells Fargo stock is where it is because they have to unwind a lot of those difficulties, and because they also developed a lot of problems later on, or those problems kind of exacerbated themselves in the 2010s and just sort of drove themselves into the ground. So just check your headlines for that. Amazon, doing great. A lot of people are not quite happy with the way they deal with unions.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that that was not the case, but still, Amazon has done a lot for us, especially in the pandemic. So I have mixed feelings about Amazon. I invest, by the way, in Microsoft and Amazon. Just FYI.
Mm-hmm.
I do not any longer invest in Wells Fargo. So that was a thing for a while. But all right. So here's the exercise. You are 22 years younger. Choose an investment. You get to choose one. What do you say, Naya? You've got $1,000 to invest. What are you going to buy?
Oh, Amazon.
You going to buy any of the others? Let's say you could buy as many as you want. You going to buy any of the others?
I'd probably go with Amazon and Microsoft, but
No, you know the future. Sorry. You know the future. You're going back. You are going back to talk to 20 something year old you. I don't know how old you were in 2001. You're going to talk to past you, and you're saying, stock tip for you. This is what I want you to invest in. You can say whatever you want to your past self. What do you tell your past self?
I tell my past self, put your money in Amazon and Microsoft because you are going to be very happy in the future.
Why choose Microsoft?
Don't worry about...
No, you know what the answer is. You know what the future will be, and you're not going to change it. Why did you say Microsoft?
Well, logic tells me that 21-year-old me would look around and see that technology would be booming.
Okay.
And that would be, for me, hey, I have to invest in this because it's not going away. It's going to be big. And with Amazon, I would be a little bit apprehensive, but I'd be like, well, if they could merge with technology and be fast and deliver on a timely manner, I'm going to go invest in that because it's $14 right now.
You're doing this too logically. We're cheating here. I'm giving you a TARDIS. You get in the TARDIS with the doctor. You go back and you talk to your prior self. You know the future, and you're not going to change the future, right? You're going to talk to yourself, and you're like, I've got $1,000. I want to be as rich as possible at the end of this.
Yes.
What do you say? Like, not like I had like, no, you know, you're cheating here. You may not even know what Amazon does.
Exactly.
Like, what do you tell past self to maximize your returns?
Buy Amazon. You'll be happy. That's what I would. That's what I would tell. But see,
that's right.
That's the
maximalist answer. That's the maximalist answer. Now, can you convince your past self to do that? That's a completely other. That's a story.
Oh, absolutely. I can convince myself because my past self is like my future self. We like money.
Okay, so exercise complete. If I had a credit card and it had a 29% interest rate, and I had another credit card and it had a 9% interest rate, and I had cash that was going to yield me negative 0.5%, so the cash that was going to yield me 0.5%, right? And let's say I have $20,000 on my Amazon credit card at 29% interest rate, and I've got $20,000 on my Microsoft credit card at 9% interest rate, and I've got $20,000 in my checking account that's got 0.5% interest rate. And I know for a fact that these interest rates are fixed. And I know for a fact that every year I'm going to have that much more money pile up on top. Which one should I start paying off first?
Well, are we going back to logic, or are we just going with?
It's irrelevant because
Okay.
we owe the money.
Okay.
It's irrelevant to the companies. I'm merely calling them these things because it's the same numbers. It's the same numbers, but this time it's an expense that's being added on every year that we're going to have to pay down when we're old.
So obviously everybody, in today, well, obviously everybody says, well, you have to pay the higher one that has the higher interest rate down first, because they are charging you more money because you owe the money, right? So it would be logical to pay down the 29%, then pay down the 9%, and then pay the one that, we owe the least amount of, the 0.5% here. But in my mind, I think differently. I know that's the way it's supposed to be, but I always think, okay, if I pay the first one that I know I can get out of the way easily, I'm going to pay the 5% down. And then I will work on the 9% and I can pay that off. The 29% is not going away. So we're going to have to pay that anyway. So I'm going to put as much as I can just to pay the interest off. And then once the other two are paid, I can fully get my attention on that 29%. Does that make sense?
So, I completely understand the thought process behind that. And I have had many conversations with people close to me who have that same philosophy. And I have felt it myself. So I have a mortgage. Like this house I'm sitting in, I have mortgaged. I own it, right? But I own it via my bank, right? So, but years ago, instead of having a variable rate mortgage, I was able to fix the rate on my mortgage. So right now, my mortgage rate is fixed at a fairly low percentage rate. I think it's at 4%. And I also have credit cards. Fortunately, I'm in a position right now where I don't run a credit card balance. So it doesn't really matter that much which one I pay off, because I'm paying them all off every month. Ideally, you should do that, right? Ideally, you should do that. And ideally, if you're using lending, you should have as low interest rates as possible on that lending, that sort of thing. But real talk, when I was 25, 26 years old, I had student loans with astronomical interest rates. Astronomical. I started getting my first mortgages at that point, and their interest rates were very high. I think I had 3 mortgages on my first house. 3. One of them had an interest rate that was like really high. Another one was middling high, and another one was just high. So like I had to refinance those fast to try to like dig myself and my family out of that hole that we were in, and we had credit cards and we had credit card debt, and our like we were like trying to keep the jet from crashing into the mountains. So I know very much how this can feel, where you're like, oh, I've got a credit card and it's got $500 on it, and the interest rate's at like 17%, and I've got this other credit card and it's got like $10,000 on it. Like, this is a literal thing that happened to me.
Oh yeah.
And it's got a 26% interest rate. Which one should I really be paying off? And the answer is the maximalist answer. You really should ignore that $500 one. You really should. What you should be doing is you should be trying to like use that. You should be trying to use the one that has the lower expense, and like use that for your daily, like put whatever on you can, pay off the one with the higher interest rate. That's going to get you to financial freedom faster. Exactly. If you pay off that $500 one, it makes you feel good, and it does take some of the emotional burden away, because there's the amount of time it takes for you to do each of these things, right? So you're like, I got to remember to pay off this other credit card every month. But if I just pay it off and I put it in a drawer, I don't have to worry about it. But really, low interest beats higher interest every single time. Now, that said, every credit card, every loan has to be paid at some minimum amount, right?
Yes.
Make sure you're paying your minimums. Make sure you're paying them on time. Yes. These are vitally, crucially important financial investing habits to have. And remember, when you're paying off a credit card, what you're doing is you're investing in you. You're investing in yourself, the things you need, right? Maybe you bought food with that credit card. Maybe you bought a car with, or maybe you bought gas with that, right? Maybe you're paying for your car repairs, or maybe you're buying some furniture for your home. You're investing in yourself. Invest at the lowest interest rate you possibly can, right? And then as you're done paying off those interest rates, start thinking about ramping up and saving for retirement. And like what I did as a part of it, I was kind of developed these habits together. So I actually started investing as I was starting, as I was paying off these things. You will find a sort of crossover point, because it's difficult to beat the market. And because the market, when I say the market, I mean the S&P 500 as a stand-in for sort of your easiest sort of way to invest in a sort of big market fund. Because its average return is about 10%, in my mind, as I was trying to figure out, well, should I be paying off a loan or a credit card, or should I be investing? I was asking myself, well, is the loan or the credit card higher than 10% or not? If it's like 2 or 3% higher than it, you're almost always going to get a better return by paying that down. Or it's not exactly a return, but it's like less loss.
Yeah.
And so as my debt load started to cross that interest point line and started to average down and to be like closer to 9 or 8%, then I was like, well, all right, I should be investing more at this point. I never didn't invest. Like once I started working, I did invest from the get-go, but it's vitally important to get rid of those high interest things. And then, if you have these habits of mind in place, they can really, really help you make they help you make decisions well, because you've prepared for them. Every month it comes up and you're like, well, which of these cards should I put more on again? Maybe it's a new card, maybe so. Look at the interest rate, figure it out, right? Figure out where you can let it slide, where you can't, unless you can pay it all off, in which case you're not the person I'm talking to here. If you can pay it all off.
Yeah. No, but that like totally. And to hammer this point down even further, you know, credit card debt does not care about your feelings. Okay.
No, it. Oh, that's
That,
such a great point. I didn't even think about that.
because you're like, when you pay off the lower credit card that has the interest rate, you're like, oh, I feel good. It's no, it does. They don't care about your feelings. You use the money, you ate the steak, you need to pay that tab and that bill back. You know,
Yeah.
it's not free money. And that's where I think a lot of people, and especially young people like myself, when I got my first credit card, I'm like, oh, it's free money. And then you got like, two
I did
thousand
it too.
dollars. You got $2,000, credit card. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? And I think that credit card, and I think most credit cards now, I think was it the average is like 15 to 29%. Some are like 35%. I'm like, that's astronomical.
That's
Like, I'm thinking
astronomical, is
about
what you said.
20,
Yeah.
yeah. I cannot believe it. It's like being 21 years old and then realizing you have like 15, $20,000 in debt, and you're not even 30, 40 years old, and you're like, how am I going to pay that off? That seems like, you know, illegal in my eyes.
So there's an even darker part of all this, and that's student loan debt,
Oh,
right? I'm not going to go into that too much right now, but I'm looking at colleges again because my daughter just entered college and my son is about to enter college, and you know, wow, so expensive. And remember that the expense of going to college is dwarfed by the interest you will pay on that college. So when you are considering your future, remember that you need to take into account your ability to repay your loans,
mm-hmm,
not just how much it's going to cost in total, but this
mm-hmm.
idea of, okay, if it costs $100,000 a year to go to a school, which it does now, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because remember, you're probably not working too much. You
Yeah.
might have a job, right? But and you can factor this in, right? But you've got school that you're paying for. It's like 50 to 65 to $70,000. You're paying for the school.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got room and board on top of that, and living expenses, right? So you're talking 90 to $110,000, I would guess, for a lot of sort of for a lot of colleges, right? So, but remember, at I don't actually know what the interest rates are right now for the loans off the top of my head. I don't remember what it was we had signed up for. Maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
blanking it out because I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to know. When I was in school, I think I was signed up for 8 or even 9% interest rates on my loans, which I think is higher than it is now. I think it's lower right now. Um, but those loan repayments, it's a lot, and it's yeah, plan it
So
out.
scholarships, the way to
Scholarships,
go.
scholarships are great. Um, don't be afraid to ask for aid. Like, fill out your
Yeah.
FAFSA, your free
Oh,
application for federal student aid if you're American. Um,
yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're in other countries, well, you probably have better subsidized
Yeah.
education, but you may not have as many choices, right?
Yes.
So one of the things about our very expensive education system is we have a ton of great choices, but they are very expensive. So, um,
Yes.
yeah.
So that's
So
our PSA on that.
yeah, PSA. So one other thing I did want to talk about, and this is just like a great habit for anyone to be in, for anyone to have, I'd say read voraciously. And I use the term read specifically. I don't mean watch YouTube videos about the topic. I don't mean watch Netflix exposés on the topic. I mean, use your eyes to crawl over the things called letters or characters.
It's called a
And
book, right? A book.
it doesn't even have to be a book. I mean, you could do a digital, you could read digitally. I've
Wow.
heard there is this thing. Books are actually great. And when I say read voraciously, I mean anything. Like fiction is fine. Read. And reading will give you perspectives that you will use to carry into your investing life, into your professional life, into your hobbies. It will help you be fulfilled. It is an investment in your own mind, in your ability to speak. Because remember, when you read, ideally, if you're reading well edited stuff, it's teaching you how to compose your own thoughts, right?
Mhm.
It's teaching you how to communicate with others. Heck, read in other languages if you can speak other languages or want to learn to speak other languages. I don't care what you read, just read. It's a
Yes.
great investment in yourself and it can help you also if you when you're investing in financial things as well. So that's all I have to say on that.
Do I get to call you the LeVar Burton of the investment reading rainbow?
Yeah, this is the reading investment rainbow. Um,
Woohoo!
I yeah,
Awesome.
LeVar Burton. Oh, yeah, that would be awesome.
Let's just think about that for a moment.
So everybody, I think that was today's show. Thanks for watching, and please like us and subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
We want to
Yes.
grow, we want to share our love of all things pop culture, all things nerdy with y'all, and talk about investing and talk about paddling. And Naya, how can people connect with us?
Great question. The LeVar Burton of investing, Harlan. You could reach us at writingthewake2 at gmail.com. That is our email, writingthewake number two at gmail.com. Or if you are on social media and you would like to follow us both on Instagram, Facebook, you could find us at Writing the Wake, one word, or at our website, writingthewake.show. And we also, unfortunately, he didn't put it on here, and I don't have the thing right in front of me right now, but we have a Twitter page too. We do have a Twitter handle, and we will get that to you as soon as possible. I'll probably put it up on Instagram, so you can have that as well.
And I'll put that over on writingthewake.show as well. So you'll be able to connect with us.
So
however you like.
Yes, you can even send a smoke signal if you would like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Harley, what else do we have, dude?
Well, tune in next week. We're going to be doing episode 12, and next week's topics will be Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore, and the K-drama A Business Proposal. A Business Proposal, which has taken Netflix by storm and is one of the many reasons why I do still hold my shares of Netflix. So until next time, hug the hoolie, and we'll see you on land or in the water. Peace.
Peace.